Hi, this is Dr. Dirt with you again here at the Western Heritage Museum and Lee County Cowboy Hall of Fame. And we're in the dark exhibit. We were talking about earthworm. Most of us know this is good fish bait. But let me talk a little bit more about what the worms does. And you can see they are great miners of the soil, working all the way up to the ground. And the deepest one that we know of is they found earthworms 2 miles in the soil in the ground. So if the conditions are right, they go way down. But today, these are Canadian night crawlers from Canada. They come out there and they're in the north of the United States too. These things can get up to 18 inches long. They have no eyes. This is the head. This is the eating the mouth part on this Canadian night crawler. And so they touch and they flatten out and they kind of grow. They have cilia, which are little hairs on the side of their body that help move them along on my fingers. You can see she'll stretch out and she's sensing. And she knows she's on something dry, and the shiny part of that is slime juice on the worm. That keeps them hydrated. This is the rear end of the worm where she excretes. Worms, they do not have lungs. They breathe through their skin. And so when we have excessive rains in Lee County in our residential areas around your home and water stands for 3 or 4 days, because they're drowning in the ground. And so they have to have air. There's an exchange of air going across that wet membrane into them. But a red wiggler, it wiggles. It gets like that right there. But now worms can be broken in half, and most earthworms can regenerate the lost piece. Depends if it's not done too much damage to the internal organs in it. But they are tillers of the ground. Now the mow has dug across here, but we see that hoe right there coming around. But the water and air is moving through these tunnels and moving down into the depths of the soil. So if we had rainfall and it's standing on this turf right here, it's a natural percolation of the water moving down into the soil profile even deeper where these worms are working. The red wigglers are what a lot of the gardeners are using in their composting beds. They put their vegetables and their matter from their house up there or in a bucket, and they add a pound of worms in there, and those worms eat all that vegetable waste and eggshells and everything else, and it turns it into a rich compost. But things that are fiber, you could put a pair of jeans on there, cotton Levi's. I mean, like my suit here today. If I would just lay that on the ground and sprinkle a little dirt on it, keep it wet, they would eat every bit of this cotton fiber. And the only thing that would be left are the zippers and the snaps that are made of metal. Let me give you a little history about worms. In South Africa, those worms can get up to 22 feet. But you go to Auckland, New Zealand. New Zealand has a species of worms that get up to 12 feet. And then the uniqueness about those worms are they are bioluminescent. They're kind of like some of the, like lightning bug. They create light, luminescent light. And then we come back to America in the northwestern part in Washington and Oregon. And we had earthworms in that part of the country that grew to 3 feet long, 3-foot worm, and weighed a pound and a half. But the only thing is through agricultural farming and maybe pesticide, and they have not found any more of the worms of that size. In North America, especially on the eastern seaboard, there were no earthworms years ago. Back in the Ice Age millennia, when we had the Ice Age event going on, and the glaciers were moving across and scouring the land down to the bedrock, all soil life, as we know in this right here behind me, was gone. And so the earthworm in eastern and northern into Canada, places like that, were introduced by man at later times. As man came over, they brought soil, they brought plants, they brought stuff with them to plant in the New World. And so the worms got reestablished and repopulated the forest back east. And now today, there's a situation is that the earthworms are creating havoc in the eastern forest around the Great Lakes and back east, because they're such great tillers of the soil. They keep it loosened up that a lot of the trees can't do what they need to do. They're losing their root structure, they're falling over, so they're destroying some sections of the forest. And they're most active in the morning before the sun gets up. Now sunlight on these worms will kill them in just a short order of time. The ultraviolet light paralyzes them. And then the slimy part, which you see on my hand, the slime of the worms, is a protection, and that dries up So there's some worm facts for you. Early bird gets the worm.